So do you believe that Comer had any reason to believe that this was all false and ignored it?
Oh, that's a great question, Abby. In fact, I'll ask it a different way. When did James Comer know this was false, and how long did he conceal that from the American people? I mean, are you telling me he just found out through the indictment, or has he known all along, or at least for a period of time, that this 1023 form was made up? Those are real questions we need to get to the bottom to.
Do you have any evidence that he knew in advance that this was not a legit informant?
No, look, I don't have any evidence of that. But, Abby, you know what they like to do. Some people are saying perhaps, maybe it's the Bidens. I mean, I don't know what James knows or doesn't know, but he should tell the American people. When did he find out that this 1023 form was a lie? When did he find out that his informant was lying to the American people and they were still using that information? I'd like to know. I think James has to answer that to the American people.
I think those are some fascinating questions, and they have to do with the revelation this week that the FBI informant, who basically formed to the extent that there was anything about the Bidens, about Hunter Biden, Ukraine, Burisma, payments, it was based off of what this FBI informant had alleged to be able to say about those topics. It turns out now, apparently a bit of a liar, kind of making up that information, which is certainly bad news for the case to impeach Joe Biden or lock up Hunter Biden over something having to do with Ukraine, and might in fact be bad news for Comer as well, if it is shown that he knew that there was nothing to what this guy was saying. Now, as is alluded to in that video, there's no evidence yet of when we found out about this. So I will wait, before making any further judgment on Comer. But we do know that in terms of the facts, there apparently wasn't anything there. And so apparently, according to this new indictment that's revealed this information, Alexander Smirnov, the informant in this case's statements about the Bidens were untrue. That includes statements about them having apparently back in June 2020 that officials with the Ukrainian energy company Burisma paid the Bidens $5 million each in either 2015 or 2016. And it's important that you know, if you haven't been following this, that Smirnov's claims were touted as damning evidence, both in the Senate with Chuck Grassley and James Comer in the House. That has been the sort of bedrock of the nearly year-long investigation by the House Oversight Committee. And perhaps even more so than elected Republicans in the media, when there's some crossover as we'll get to, they have really thought there was something here with this informant. So this is Ted Cruz, a guy who would really prefer to be in entertainment than an elected office. Each of these social media posts is a different podcast he did about that informant's revelations over and over and over again. And honestly, compared to Fox News, that's nothing. They could not stop talking about this guy. Sean Hannity was constantly going on about him, Jesse Waters as well. And so what you might think that the revelation that the guy's apparently a big liar and there was nothing there would be big news for Fox as well. But if you can actually make out, let's put up those graphics again. Those are screenshots from throughout the hours of Laura Ingraham, Jesse Waters, and Sean Hannity's shows last night. And they just weren't able to find time to talk about it. They had Fonnie Willis to talk about, and you gotta fit in some time with Kellyanne Conway. So, the fact that we hyped this guy up for a couple of years, it's just not worth actually mentioning. Only Brett Baer, by the way, actually pointed out that it's been revealed that this guy apparently lied. And in that, it was a transition to a quote from James Comer, who's like, to be clear, the impeachment inquiry is not reliant on the document that guy provided. It's based on a large record of evidence, including bank records and witness testimony, revealing that Joe Biden, blah, 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 blah. So this guy that we've been talking about and hyping up for literally years, I don't even care about that guy. I was never impressed with him, but we have other stuff, don't worry. And it'll come someday. Brett, what do you think?
Like, dating back to the beginning of their we have an FBI document, the central document that at the beginning of all this they were referring to was the fact that someone took a tip. Someone at the FBI was like, all right, somebody said this weird stuff happened, so now there's a document. They're like, there's this document indicating that Donald Trump or that Joe Biden took $5 million. It's like, no, that's like when I worked as a talent agent assistant. I used to have to write down who called and what they said. That's the document. And then they'll never reveal that they are totally aware of how off base it was. And they're just going to continue with it because no one's here is concerned about the truth. They just want to have something to say when Donald Trump gets in trouble to distract everybody from that fact.
Yeah.
And so they're like, Burisma, there's a FBI informant. They're not gonna correct their record at all.
Yeah, 100%. It's all, so much of this is just driven by Donald Trump did a thing. Okay, I guess we'll go looking to find something that seems to make it acceptable. And I'm sick of that. By the way, I learned from the sidebar graphic of that first video we played you that they were going to be having last night on Neil deGrasse Tyson to talk about Russia's new space-based nuclear weapons. Is that his area of expertise? Space nukes? I guess. He's a good communicator, I suppose. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.